Multiple Baseline Design by Melissa Killam, Tabata Jazz, and Jennifer West. We did the multiple baseline design because we wanted to gather data on a particular behavior performance for two or more persons. We were gathering data on the same behavior, just different participants. The present study used a differential reinforcement of other behaviors, focusing on fixed intervals. Each interval lasted 5 minutes. This intervention was addressing adverse behaviors in students when given homework assignments in a home setting. There were 3 participants, the age range of 10 and 11, and the purpose of this study is to apply the DR fixed intervals and gain control of undesired target behaviors, meaning we're trying to get students to complete work without any aggressive behaviors. The DRO on a fixed schedule means we delivered reinforcement, which was an iPad, if no occurrences of the problem behavior, aggression, were observed after 5 minutes. Our research idea. The target behavior is the task to attempt to work on homework without showing any signs of aggressive behavior. And the intervention, for every time the student does not have any aggression, they will get 5 minutes of iPad time. Aggression, when we say aggressive behavior, we're referring to yelling, hitting other people with an open hand or closed fist, kicking or slamming their hands on the desk. Adverse of a homework assignment means some homework that they do not like to do. We chose the iPad because given a preference assessment, the students chose the iPad, and the iPad was an available resource to each participant. The method we used, we had 3 participants, 2 in 4th grade and 1 in 5th grade. The 4th graders were 10 and the 5th grader was age 11. Our variables, the independent variable, was the intervention implemented to decrease the aggressive behavior. This was the iPad given for 2 minutes. The dependent variable was to stay on task of completing their homework. Again, the design was a multiple baseline design across participants. We had 3 different participants. The method, the baseline, the data collected before an intervention was implemented. We took 3 days to get a stable baseline. So 3 days we gathered our baseline data. The intervention, if a student can't work for 5 minutes without any aggressive behavior, they didn't get the iPad. If they could work for 5 minutes without any aggressive behavior, then they were given 2 minutes of iPad time. Results. So the baseline data, we had 3 sessions to gather baseline data for each participant. The intervention, we had the iPad intervention given for 5 sessions. Social validity. The results of the social validity questionnaire from the teachers show that the treatment and intervention design was overall effective for the participant and can be used for other children with similar problem behavior. So first we're going to look at Andy's results. If you look at this chart, you'll see we have frequency of behavior incidents and per the number of sessions. First 3 days was the baseline data. Day 1, he had 10 incidents. Day 2, he had 8 incidents. Day 3, he had 10 incidences. We had a stable baseline, therefore we implemented the intervention. After the intervention on day 1, he still had 10 incidences, but day 2 he dropped to 5. And day 3 he had 6. Day 4 he had 5, and day 5 he had 4. Dan was our second participant. Again, on his chart it shows frequency of behavior incidences and then number of sessions. For Dan's, the first 3 days of his baseline data, he each had 10 behavior incidents each day for 3 days. That was stable, so then we implemented the intervention. After the intervention on day 1, he had 6 incidences. Day 2, he had 5. Day 3, 4, and 5, he had 4 incidences both. So again, we're seeing an decrease in behavior incidences with our intervention. Our last participant was Marvin. Again, on this chart, it shows the frequency of behavior incidences and the number of sessions. The first 3 days, we gathered a baseline data. First day, he had 6 incidences. Second day, he had 8 incidences. And day 3, he had 10. Again, then after day 3, we implemented the intervention. Day 1, he had 8. Day 2, he had 6. Day 3 he had 5. Day 4 he had 4, and day 5 he had 2. Again, we're seeing a decrease of behavior incidences after the intervention. So if we look at the overall results, we see that our intervention, after we used the intervention, we did have a decrease in behavior incidences. Discussion. In the present study, the results indicated at least a 50% decrease in participants' behaviors. With one participant, Marvin achieved a 70% decrease on abrasive behavior, which is a large improvement and shows great potential. So what does this mean for everyone in the education field? For students, it helps them learn and overcome abrasive behaviors with these reinforcements, such as the iPad. For teachers and parents, it gives these individuals a tool in their repertoire to help students who have behavior issues and struggle with compliance. Lastly, for administrators, it gives them an idea of the resources needed to help the teachers gain compliance with their students and further their goals of the education system. Again, was this study successful? Based off the social validity questionnaire and trained parents suggested yes, this was a successful overall and strongly agree with the intervention to gain compliance. The strong findings of this data also suggested a successful intervention. In conclusion, further implications of this intervention is highly anticipated, and it's hopeful that the replication can be easily achieved by attaining the same results in future studies. This could also strengthen the findings of the current study. Here are our references. And again, if you have any questions, just ask us on the discussion board. Thank you.